G'day listeners and welcome to another APS Weekly News Bulletin. And today I'm joined by big Jimmy Ibrahim. Mate, welcome back, buddy. It's been a while.
G'day, Sammy. G'day, listeners. Mate, very first bulletin episode for me.
Man.
I'm very honoured to be on today's ep. I haven't been included or invited to any other bulletin, so I'm thinking, when you gave me the call up, I thought, shit, this must be important. Because if Sammy's getting me on this bulletin, he may need to break something down.
100%. Man, you were coming up for another ep and I thought, you know what a prudent time to probably jump on and do this ep together rather than just kind of running through it myself. Because when I kind of explained what's sort of going on at the moment as well, you're like, I thought it would be good to break it down with you for the listeners as to what's going on, what the outlook's looking like. And a little turning point that we've kind of made the decision to make as well, man. So
I'm looking forward to it, Sammy. You had me at the catch line.
Yeah, man. So, look, dude, the APS books are closed. And I think this is a pretty prudent sort of thing heading into the back end of the year of what we really needed to do to make sure we're looking after clients that we're already currently working with, guys for many years, and then even guys and girls that have recently come in as well. Man, it was a decision we had to make because one of the primary reasons really was a lot of the markets that we were really strong in this year, they went through a really big surge in the last probably quarter, and they reached an affordability point that's my pull-out point. So I have a pull-out point I have a start point of typically when I like to enter a market. I have a pull-out point that I like to pull out of and stop buying and effectively exiting that market from a buying perspective until it then rides the rest of its run, and then we have an exit point where we like to sell out of a cycle. Now, a lot of the markets that we were very active in went through a big surge and they passed that, or they kind of got to and then passed that pull-out point in terms of an affordability metric that we run off. And man, we effectively had to pivot. We were already entering new locations, new markets, but we were early there, man. We're still establishing connections, and I just realized it was the time that we needed to close off the books, man, focus on the people that we've already got, and really, man, just make sure we're sourcing deals for those guys already in the books and not just taking on an unattainable amount of clients to source for over the next sort of few months as well, especially heading into the new year.
So when people read this tagline, just to clarify, just to avoid any confusion, APS isn't closing.
Yes, APS is not closing.
It's just some people are just pulling over going, holy shit, what's going on with APS? We're closing the books for a period of time. Just give us a bit of clarity around that.
So, like for all existing clients, effectively everyone we're working with at the moment that's already got pre-approvals in the system or they're pending, literally about to come through.
Or just come on board as a client?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like so everyone's effectively that's come on as well. We're already working through and everything from that perspective, man. Like nothing's going to change from that perspective. Okay. Clients coming back through for additional purchases that maybe have just purchased or whatever, we're still closing the books from this point in terms of actually being able to sign them back on until the new year. There's a couple of caveats, and what we're looking at is pretty much where I think we're in right smack bang in mid-November right now. We're more than likely looking to keep them this way, more than likely until Feb 1st. I think that's probably going to be the earliest in terms of turning this back on, because December, January are typically slower months for us as well. We want to make sure that we don't get overwhelmed by what sort of comes through and it getting to an unattainable level. But it's also from a price point perspective, and I think the price point perspective is a really big thing. A lot of people coming through with $400,000, $450,000, $500,000 price points. And, man, realistically, there are just so few markets that I would invest in myself around Australia anymore that fit that budget. So effectively what it is and to break it down as an absolute nutshell for you, if it's $520,000 and down from right now, we're not sourcing for those, specifically sub $500,000. You can get pre-approvals to a $520,000 purchase, $550,000, $600,000 plus. They're the sort of price points that we definitely still can source in a realistic time frame as well. But it's when it goes specifically sub $500,000, that's where it's like we're effectively full from a client perspective compared to how many markets and our sourcing times and how long it takes us to source a deal in those specific markets based on the parameters that we like to live by, right? And that we set the APS standard for. So, yeah, man. Effectively, we're still open for clients that have the budget and have the ability to go a bit dearer. I think there's a lot of opportunity at the moment in those markets of $550,000, $600,000 right now too, of really good mid-tier markets that are presenting really good value that I think will grow really well in 2025, 2026 and beyond. But that sub $500,000 price point specifically right now, yeah, man, we're having to close the books from that perspective.
So new clients and also existing clients that are looking to get a come back through.
Yep.
So if you're below 520, we're holding bringing those people back on until at least February next year, where you'll revisit those markets. Is that fair?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're effectively holding fire on bringing more of those guys through. Until at the moment, like it looks like the earliest it's going to be is February 1st next year, 2025.
Okay, now just playing complete devil's advocate, right? There will be people listening to this thinking, all right, so APS has brought on too many clients and they can't source enough deals. What would you say to that?
It's definitely not the case, because effectively what it was we bring on, and mate, you're on the front end, right? So you know this from the coalface of being on the front end discovery calls. In the last few months, we've been tapering your call numbers and a couple of the other boys down as well from an actual call capacity perspective. So we knew that we were still signing on the correct amount of clients per month maximum that we knew that we could source for. Now, this jump that's come through, that effectively we really were able to see properly back end of October, or pretty much in October, we realized the jump that had come through in these new price points in some of these markets. It reached the point of affordability that we stopped buying in. And man, that's a North Star arrow, that I kind of run by, of like, that's where, for me, ethically, I can't buy beyond that point for clients. So no, we haven't signed on too many. We've now reached a point where we can't source for any more that we signed on to that price point. So that's where the paradigm has sort of come and shifted from that end of being like, well, hang on, we've cut out like 40% of our markets that we're no longer buying in, that we no longer can source. So effectively, we've got to cut the books at this point. Because it's also like all those guys, all those price pointed markets were sub 500,000. So while we're pivoting into these other markets, building those relationships, gaining access to those quality deals, that takes time to build it to a level where we can get back to servicing sort of the amount of clients that we were before. So it didn't come down to anything to do with signing on too many clients. It came down to we were signing on the correct amount, and then the market exits that we had to do sooner than anticipated. Like we were expecting those exits to come through Q1, Q2 next year. Great news for clients that were already in those markets, because they've seen a massive surge in pricing. But yeah, we've effectively had to pivot from that perspective. So yeah, man, nothing to do with that. We're just preempting that actually being the case in terms of signing too many people on.
Should clients be concerned that at a lower price point that there are fewer and fewer markets available for them to purchase properties?
Man, the Australian market is definitely changing. Like, no longer are you buying $300,000 in capital cities. Like, you look at some of the stuff I bought for yourself 3-4 years ago in Brisbane, man, we're buying in the mid 200,000. Same in Perth, same in Adelaide. You could buy less.
We're talking metro here, right?
Yeah, we're talking cities. We're talking cities. Yep. Like all the metro locations now, like almost every city from a metro location perspective is $500,000 plus, right? $500,000 to $600,000 plus. A lot of them you struggle to even find anything in the fives. And then even when you go to the regions, man, a lot of regions during COVID saw a nice bump. And then even in the last couple of years, you look at a lot of regional WA, you look at a lot of regional SA, regional Queensland. Like a lot of these regional markets have gone on a really big surge over the last couple of years as well. And yeah, man, like there's a lot of markets that are now, 2 years ago were in the 200,000s that are now in the fives, or in the fours and the fives. So it's just like super, super limited capacity in a lot of these areas. So yeah, man, the days of like the 300s and the 400s are definitely dwindling. They're going very, very quickly. There is still some opportunity there, but it's just becoming a lot more finite. And yeah, it is changing the game a little bit with where the new investors coming in we do need to get to. But that's where like we're prioritizing like the clients that come through that is literally all their budget is to get started or get moving or whatever. Man, we're prioritizing working with those guys at those budgets rather than, a client that can go do a $600K deal or two at 400, or maybe a $600,000-$700,000 deal. We prefer to get him into like a 556, still have borrowing left in the tank as well. Be able to strip that out and go again from maybe another 550, then go and just smack out 2 deals at 400 and take out 2 potentially younger clients that are trying to get in as well. So, man, it's really just like a limitation in terms of actual areas and available properties at that price point so that we can ethically source for people in the right way.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, so just looking at that lower price point, I recall, and a lot of our listeners will recall, the podcast that we did around units and getting in at a lower price point. Has the strategy changed around units, because that was a lower price point to fit certain entry-level clients? Has that changed?
Look, man, pretty much anyone that's got a sub $300,000 budget now, if you want to get into the market and you don't want to save longer and all the rest of stuff, sub 300 grand now is pretty much only a unit market, a unit or a villa or a townhouse or something like that. There's nowhere that I have found in Australia, and trust me, we've been looking over the last 6 months to try and unearth some new locations at those sort of price points. There's nowhere that is quality as a housing market, that also presents houses for sub $300,000, right?
Okay.
And now, like, sometimes there's better opportunity even in the 300,000. A lot of the time in the 300,000s now, a lot of those markets are units, townhouses, villas sort of style markets. But it's finding the balance as well, because we're moving into a lot of areas into unaffordable territory. And if there's a big price gap disparity between the unit market or the townhouse or the villa market and the housing market, like we've seen in Brizzy in the last 12 months and 24 months in particular, there's potential for those areas to play a lot of catch up. But it also fundamentally comes down to the market that you're investing in as well. Not every area will perform the exact same with that. So yeah, man, it's something to definitely sort of consider. But it really comes down to how quickly you're wanting to move, how much you've got, what's your savings ability like. Like, if you've got enough to buy something right now for sub 300 grand, and that's a unit, and it will take you another 1-2 years to save the deposit to get into a $400,000 house. In 12 months, that $400,000 house might not be there anymore. It might be at 500. So if that was your only option to get in now, and you can get in something that's also get yourself a good discount, a good below market value buy in a good market, then yeah, man, I still think there's good warranted reasoning behind that as well.
Okay, and so from an APS perspective, is APS sourcing any possible units for clients?
We are, but we're not signing like right now. We're not signing clients on for that price point. So it's anything sub 520,000. If that's your budget, we can't sign you on right now. We've still got some clients there. I don't love them as a product. We get them as opportunities, and quite often they come through, and I'm like, look, if you can get it for X amount, like as a discount, then we'll do the deal and we'll present it as an option to a client. They've got no 100% requirement to take it, but we'll kind of offer it from that perspective. But we're not actively sourcing them. But when the opportunities present themselves through connections, then we do offer it if someone has got that super tight price point.
Okay. And so looking ahead to, say, February next year as the benchmark, is there a possibility that could be extended and just below 520 just might be the cutoff point? Or do you foresee clients with a lower price bracket being able to come on and start with a 400, somewhere between 400 and 500 purchase?
Yeah, man. Look, I think like with our projections and what we think, realistically, we'll probably be able to source for clients over the next 2.5 months. But then also being realistic of the slowdown periods of agents being away, right? Like most agents kind of head off, they kind of do 2-3 weeks in December and they head off and they kind of come back 2-3 weeks into January, especially if they've had a big year. And even then, man, they're normally pretty slow to get back into it. A lot of sellers are gone for the whole of January. They don't look at anything till Feb. Like so often the saying is in real estate or in life, right, in the economy, so often people shut off after Melbourne Cup and then they come back after Australia Day. There's kind of like that almost 2 months of downtime a lot of the time that a lot of people see. And people just switch off because they kind of go into holiday mode. Like, I'm getting close to Chrissy. Like, it's winding down into the year. We've got Christmas parties. Yeah, we've got all these sorts of things.
The last thing you want to be doing is trying to get involved in selling your house. Well, if you're selling.
Yeah, a lot of people are like that, man. A lot of people are like, I'll just leave it
unless
to the
you
new
have
year.
to.
Unless you have to. And that's where the opportunity arises, right? But at the same time, opportunity is a smaller number of, it's a smaller percentage, right, of what's available. So, yeah, man, it's one of these things. It's at the moment, we're unsure. That is where I'm forecasting. It could come sooner. It could come later. But that is where I'm forecasting the real sweet spot around probably being able to start transacting again for clients sub that amount or sign people on for sub that amount will come. But yeah, man, we're just going to be playing it by ear. And we're just going to effectively we just do not want to sign on more clients than we can service at certain price points because that doesn't leave anyone happy.
So stock levels, you've often talked about how stock levels have been so tight and it's been getting tighter. Do you foresee that loosening a little bit at the start of next year? Is there any change in the trends of stock levels so to give people confidence that they can get into that market?
No. I don't see stock tightening. I don't really see stock loosening anywhere. The only places where stock may tighten are areas that are kind of like getting towards peaks in their markets, which obviously isn't areas that we're wanting to buy in. So that's realistically where we might start to see a little bit of blowout of stock. But realistically for us, yeah, man, like all the areas that we're entering now, we're seeing stock contracting. And what we see so often over the Christmas, we saw it specifically last year. If I look at Perth this year, man, Perth did about a 20% jump between December and like February, like in that window, because all the stock that was available got eaten up. and then everything that got brought to market in February, because there was nothing on market, people to get listings were just like, man, we're going to list it at this, or I'm going to have a crack at this. And even though it was ridiculous compared to December, they were getting it because then they'd list it in February and there was no stock and people were just so hungry to buy that they bought. And then that started the trajectory for Perth doing like 40, 50% this year in growth.
Set the new precedent.
It set the new precedents, man, but it also just set this precedence of just like there wasn't enough. And then as soon as it came to market, it'd get smashed. And then so agents are like, to get listings again, they go, oh, man, we're going to try this. We're going to try this. And like, how do you justify it? Well, there was no justification at the time when I listed this property, but I was still able to get that. So then they're able to get the listings from that process. And man, what we found was just like that market just went on fire because of the amount of demand that was there. So, look, there's opportunities, always opportunities at different price points in different markets. But yeah, man, I don't see our markets that we're honing in on now that we can really see great value and whatnot in and great growth potential in 2025, 26, 27 and beyond. Man, their stock levels are dwindling. There's some areas we're getting into now that are that's good. They're nice and flat. There's opportunity there, which I'm excited by. But most of them are still moving into that tightening phase, or they're already in a tightening phase as it is right now.
So just going to put a couple of different hats on, right? So the first hat is for clients who are loyal to APS that have signed on.
Yep.
And just to clarify for them, this is not going to affect anyone that we're currently sourcing for.
Not that right? We're sourcing for right now. Nothing will change. We're still hunting for you. And the idea is to get you deal before Feb.
Now, should people be concerned about their accumulation journey? And let's just say they had an idea of, you know what? I had a call with the strategy boys. I'm fired up. They said I can do X amount of deals, whether it's 1, 2, 4, 5, whatever. Is this going to impact their ability to accumulate the number they thought they were going to get?
In what time frame?
Over the next 12 months.
Man, like we're shutting down in this, like we're effectively closing the books in the slowest period of the market, right? So what we're doing is we're protecting that ability for next year for people to be able to accumulate properly. What would be the worst thing that we could do would be like sign on a huge amount of clients, not be able to service them over this window, and then have a glut and then have issues. That's going to cause people more of an accumulation issue than just being like, look, we're closing it for now. Reopen, obviously, sourcing for sub that price point in December. We've got a few things we're bringing in as well. Over the next, well, actually, they're being brought in imminently. That's for another podcast. But that'll solve a lot of client issues as well. But yeah, man, effectively, I don't think it will affect anything at all. If anything, it's actually going to improve it rather than if we were just trying to go ham with this thing, man, we're just going to create issues for everyone as opposed to hitting this on the head nice and early, getting ready for next year. We'll have built stronger relationships, deeper relationships. We're going on the ground deep in after the summit, man. December, January, like we're getting on the ground in a lot of these locations, building a lot of connections. My anticipation of February and beyond is we're going to be very deeply entrenched in these new markets and getting access to more and more quality deals.
Okay. You know, on the flip side of that, so you got the skeptic who, and you've answered that question, which is great. But for the clients listening, they should be actually pleased with your strategy because you're actually protecting them. And also, you're not just signing on people for the sake of signing on clients, but you're actually looking out for a sustainable business where people can get service, they can get the deals. And that should give people confidence that you're actually doing the right thing for them.
Yeah. For sure, man. I mean, like we could sign on the same number of clients in December and January as any other month, right? Like realistically, we probably could, but we cannot source. Our sourcing numbers typically dip by 50%, right? So if we're already at a point where we're like, whoa, we had to exit these markets, like these clients need to be serviced before anyone else. Like all we would be doing would be causing another issue, 100%. Okay. So, man, again, we're just trying to deal with it in an ethical manner of how and the landscape's always changing. You know, sometimes you enter an area and you can smash like a nice amount of deals because there's stale stock there to begin with, but it's quite rare, right? It's few and far between, especially in recent times. So yeah, man, it kind of you got to play the hand you dealt. It's something I always talk about, right? Playing the hand you dealt from an investing perspective. We're just doing the same thing from a business perspective.
Yeah.
So, man, exactly as you're kind of saying there, protecting the brand, protecting the individual, protecting ourselves, all these sorts of things to make sure that we're doing the right job that we always promise clients that we're going to do.
Yeah, I love that about you, Sammy, and to give you a bit of credit there because it's very easy. It's not very often you get a business that is trying to cut back on clients.
Yeah, it's true.
Whereas you're actually doing the opposite. And you're actually looking out for the long-term benefit of the client. So if you're listening out there, you should be getting some confidence for that. Now, just to throw on the other hat, you always talk about the young guy and girl starting out and you've always wanted to look after them. A message for them, is there still hope if you're scrapping together your first deposit at that lower price bracket? It might not be now. early next year. Have you got anything to say to them?
100%. Like a couple of the new markets we're entering are that specifically that sub $500,000 price, but there's even a few that we've opened up that are sub 400,000 that look promising. But yeah, man, look, dude, there's always hope, and realistically, it just moves in different phases. You know what I mean? And the biggest thing we're going to be doing is probably clients who can afford a bit more. Again, we've got a new strategy. We're actually going to be talking about it in a podcast next week as well. It's going to be released at the summit, which is this Sunday, actually, mate. So how good?
Can't wait.
But the podcast drop on this thing is actually going to come out next week as well. So there's a few solutions we're going to be helping people with from that perspective also. But man, like, we're going to create solutions for clients. We're going to be able to get clients into the mix and into their portfolios and getting started. That's always been a priority. But again, at the same time, man, we need to ethically kind of look after everyone from this end. And again, you sign on 100 clients that are sub $400,000. You know, right now we're not going to be able to service them. You know, it's going to be a ridiculous. It's not going to be enjoyable for anyone.
Yep.
So instead of doing that, we look at obviously doing the right thing.
Can you give us a bit of an idea on the capital required? Let's just use 520 as an example.
Yeah.
And I know we're using pretty general here.
Yeah.
But just for people that have got a call coming in or a client looking for the next deal, what are you looking at from a capital base?
The biggest perspective is probably checking the borrowing capacity first. If your borrowing capacity with your broker or your banker or whatever is up to around about that 450, 500, you're probably getting very close to being able to do a deal at that. Like if there's at an absolute minimum 450, 500,000, you're going to be able to transact on a deal. Man, realistically, if you did a 12% deposit on a 520 purchase, so 10%'s 52, you're probably looking at around about 60 for your deposit, plus your legals, closing, stamp duties, BA fees, everything from that end. You're probably looking in the realm of probably pretty close to $90,000, $100,000 for that deal at an 88% LVR with mortgage insurance and everything as well. So man, probably like 90 to 100 right now is probably what you need for that next deal at an 88% lens. So they're the two things to ensure you have from that perspective. Yeah, man, to be able to effectively being able to assist and push forward.
Well, Sammy, they're all the questions from me. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Mate, not really. I think we hit the nail on the head. We ran over pretty much everything in depth there, mate. I think it's pretty explanatory what we're trying to do here. We're just trying to obviously not take on too many clients, make sure that we can source who we're bringing on for, and make sure we're looking after the people that are already on the books that we're already sourcing for as well. So, yeah, man. No, that's it for me. Anything else you want to ask?
Mate, I think that was great. That was helpful.
The only final thing I'll probably throw in, guys, as well, realizing obviously that we've been doing so much prep, man, that kind of even slipped my mind that is this weekend. Guys, don't forget the summit is on this Sunday. There's only VIP tickets left. I think it was the start of last week that we sold out of all our general admissions. I think there are a few VIP tickets left as of recording this video, which is a couple of days before the drop, which on the Thursday. So guys, get on there, have a look if you want to get yourself down to the summit. If you're part of School of Property, you also have access to the boot camp on Saturday. As of recording this morning, there are some general admission tickets left, but they're very few. By the time this drops, which again is in a couple of days, I'm not sure if there'll be any general admissions or only be VIP tickets that are left. But that is, remember guys, a closed door, very intimate, full no holds barred event. There's a lot of stuff. Jimmy, you and I went through the what are your thoughts on both days?
Mate, I'm pumped. I'm surprised how many different things you can fit in a day. And what I'm thinking is, how the hell is Sammy going to get through this? And I'm going to be there on the side with a stopwatch and the clock going, oh, shit, he's running over again. He's running over again.
You can be my ring girl, but you got the minutes. How many got left?
I have to get the bikini out. Might have to have wax.
Please don't.
So
wax the head.
There is a huge amount of value, and I'm pumped. I'm excited.
Man, I'm pumped as well. I think it's going to be a massive weekend, mate. I'm so pumped to see everyone there as well. And
if people want to find out more about what's involved with the VIP and stuff, where can they find that out?
Mate, the easiest way, head over to www.australianpropertyscout.com.au. There's a little link at the top of the website there that you can click on that. It gives a breakdown of all the bonuses that come with it. Mate, you're going to be sitting effectively front row. You've got you've got the live strategy sessions. We're going to be pulling people's portfolios out. What I really want to focus on with those, man, is unstucking people's portfolios as well, or like, you know, people stuck or like they're unsure what to do, road mapping that. And then being in the VIP section, you're obviously getting full access to that. There's a bunch of other different things. But then probably the other big thing is like you got the meet and greet afterwards. It's meet and greet with drinks. It's like a 2-3 hour sesh. That's going to be straight after the event as well, that we're all going to be in there.
That's on the summit day, right?
With all the VIPs, yeah. I think there's
not on the boot camp.
Not at the boot camp. No. That's at the summit. That's at the summit. So yeah, man. I think that'll be sick. Yeah, if it was after the boot camp, I don't know how good I'd be on the summit.
I was going to say. Oh, wow.
So,
All right,
so yeah,
sounds
man,
good.
mate, I'm looking forward to it. We're less than a week out now, man. I know so many people have been texting me about it. They're super pumped. They're amped for it. So, dude, I think it's gonna be a big weekend. I think people are gonna take a lot of value out of it. And yeah, it may be the last one. So make sure you make your way there.
I saw a guy. A big shout out to one of our clients, Ricky. I was in last weekend down in Dramana. You would have loved this place. Red Gum to Smokehouse.
Oh.
Right? Slow cooked meat. Amazing.
You invite Ricky, you don't invite me.
So Ricky and his mum, I think it was Jade or June. Sorry, Ricky.
I reckon it's Jane.
However, comes up, Jimmy. Like, who's that? Ricky from APS. I've been listening to you for about a year. Didn't know him. One of our clients in the middle of nowhere in the Mornington Peninsula. I'm there with my partner Jody and my stepdaughter, and they're like, I didn't know James was famous. And I said, I'm not famous. But Ricky, big shout out to him. He's coming to the summit. Can't wait to see you there. What a legend.
How good.
How good's that?
Bro, I swear
you get pulled up all the time.
I swear half the gym at EMF Southport are clients or they listen to the podcast. They're aspiring.
You're trying to do a set and they're interrupting you every time?
Nah, they're awesome. They come up and say good day and everything. But, mate, you go on the way out, you're doing like high fives down there. It's like you're running down a tunnel, mate, saying goodbye to everyone. And it's awesome,
I just wanted to do a shout out because I'm going to see him this weekend. You never know who you're going to bump into.
Come up and say good day because, it's always good to have a bit of a chat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's mad.
I was just in the middle of this slow brisket, mouthful in. Jimmy.
Slow brisket? Is that to go with the slow head?
I don't know. It was amazing. Brisket. Next time you're in Melbourne,
really slow pig or something?
When you do come down, we'll have to take you there.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
What if I never intend to go to Melbourne?
I'd probably...
Can you bring some up for me?
Nah.
Tupperware container?
Nah.
What a dog.
It would be tough.
What a dog.
Yeah. You're not on carnivore anymore.
What do you mean, bro?
Look at your guts.
Are you kidding? Hey, just dropped 6 kilos in 10 minutes.
Anyway, let's wrap it up. Come on.
Mate, you don't get a steak. You get a falafel for lunch, all right? You don't get the steak with me. You can go sit down the corner with your mates. All right, listeners, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope the breakdown was super clear, guys. I hope you understand what we're trying to achieve with this thing as well, protecting you guys as the clients. Listeners, if you're enjoying these episodes, please make sure you hit that follow button, you hit the subscribe button on your favorite listening platform. If you haven't left us a 5-star review yet, please make sure you jump on there, you leave us a 5-star review. And if you have not bought your ticket to the summit or to the boot camp this weekend, as of recording, there are still some tickets left. I don't know if there will be actually on the day when this thing gets dropped. We want to see you there. It's going to be a massive couple of days. And yeah, guys, just make sure you get there. There's going to be heaps of learning, heaps of things to get yourself in and around and meet the APS team and the Silver Dog with his slow, tough brisket. Listeners, thanks for tuning in.
In a Tupperware container.
In a Tupperware container. We'll see you next week.